What's going on everybody? Welcome to today's video of free-to-play Cartethyia Showcase. Now just before showing you my build, you should know that she is the very first DPS who scales entirely on HP, so her build is gonna be different compared to the others. First of all is the weapon choice, in which there's only two options left for free-to-play if you can't afford her signature. One of them is our old partner Aero of Genesis, and the other one goes to the only HP sword in the entire game, the 3-star Guardian Sword. Unfortunately, both are just about 65 to 70% of her signature in terms of damage, which makes Cartethyia one of the most signature reliant DPS in the game, so let's hope you get lucky with her weapon. Anyway, now as for her Echo set, the best one is obviously the latest edition Windward Pilgrimage set, as it's basically a permanent buff for Cartethyia without any condition at all. Alright, so here comes the interesting part. Due to the fact Cartethyia scales on HP, Cost 1 echoes are actually better than Cost 3, as their second main stat provides over 2000 HP instead of the useless 100 attack. Besides, Cartethyia actually gains a ton of Aero damage bonus, not just from her weapons and teammates, but from her own kit as well, which leads to severe diminished returns when using the Aero damage Cost 3. As such, the best echo combination is actually 4-4-1-1-1, as opposed to the traditional 4-3-3-1-1. So please keep this in mind when farming her echoes. For tear wise, it's best to upgrade all of them except for the implode skill, since her entire kit is useful in the battle. But if your resources are limited, prioritize on upgrading the middle one, as it improves the damage of the adult form. Alright, now it's time to learn how to play her. Although it looks complicated with all the essays, it's actually pretty simple when you start playing her. So let's get started. Before transforming into the adult form, first you have to attain these 3 different swords to maximize the buff, which is done with a simple combo. Start with a heavy attack, followed by a long of basic attack, use her skill, and plunge. That's all for the foreplay. Pretty simple, right? Now go ahead and transform into the adult form, and do whatever you want with her to charge out this energy for the ultimate attack. Spamming the basic attack is the best, as her last hit actually froze the time on enemy. And that's it. That's basically how to play her. But of course, in order to maximize her damage, you have to learn a bit more. One of the most important passive of her is that she deals more damage the more Aero Erosion stat the enemy has, up to 60% Aero damage bonus and maximum 6 stats. Now here's the thing. The default Aero Erosion is capped at 3 stats, meaning that she can't gain more than 30% damage bonus just by herself, unless you are pulling her copies, of course. For many of us free to play, the only solution to it is to bring the Aero Rover, as he's the only character who can increase the cap by 3 with his Ultra skill. But that's not enough just yet. You have to maintain it at the max stats for the full buff, which is quite tricky because not only it degrades over time, but also using the ultimate will remove all the stats. Well, obviously the best solution is to bring Ciaccona, but I understand, not everyone has her since she's not free. In that case, you just have to rely on Cartethyia herself, and fortunately it's actually fairly simple. A very important mechanic of her is that she can freely switch between the young and adult form, and guess what? Her younger version can apply the Aero Erosion with the Listener skill and the last hit of her basic attack. So all you have to do is to switch back and forth between the young and adult, and you'll be maintaining the stats just fine. This is a crucial trait for any teams without Ciaccona, otherwise you'll be losing a lot of damage. And that's about everything you have to know about the Cartethyia kit. Alright, now as for her team build, to be honest, she doesn't have much of a choice at all, not because of the fact she doesn't scale on attack, though in any case, there's literally zero reason not to bring Aero Rover especially for free to play, as he's basically tailor-made for Cartethyia from top to bottom. In addition to increasing the erosion limit, he's providing 26% Aero damage with his exclusive sword, making him the best healer support for Cartethyia. The only downside is that he's very clunky to play, so it'll take some time to get used to it. Fortunately, Cartethyia makes him a little bit more bearable, thanks to her providing him the intro resistance with her Ultra skill. So unless you badly list him in other teams, such as Phoebe, Johnny, or as a DPS with Sanhua, you should always bring Aero Rover for Cartethyia. Alright, so finally it's time for some team showcase. in which is essentially a comparison among the different final teammates, since Aero is basically a must-have as mentioned before. Anyway, it's pretty obvious Ciaccona is the only best choice for the last teammate, as she's the only off-field AoE Aero Erosion applicator, along with the highest Aero damage bonus buff for Cartethyia, plus the heavy boost on Aero Erosion DOT, all while having one of the fastest auto skill recharge among all supports. I would say she's just as crucial as Rover, which would be perfect if only she's free for everyone just like him. Anyway, as the reward of pulling Ciaccona, not only is extremely powerful, but also is probably one of the most brain-dead teams to play, as there's no need to follow any rotation at all. Every single buff in this team are either permanent passive effects, or team-wide buff that lasts for 30 seconds. So as long as you successfully trigger all their skills, doesn't matter which comes first, you can start torturing every single living beings in front of you. And of course, all while Ciaccona is singing in the background.
Hopefully this helps. Wind howls. Unfettered by bounds. Tempest the slashes. The wicked will be.
By the way, if you absolutely can't stand Aero-Rover's clunkiness, it's perfectly fine to switch him to Shorekeeper to make your life easier. And just from my experience, both are pretty similar in terms of damage, if not actually better. So if she isn't occupied elsewhere, I would say it's 100% a positive trade. Though personally I would rather stick with Rover, as I prefer Shorekeeper to carry my other teams. Anyway, as conclusion, if you already pulled Ciaccona, there shouldn't be any reason for you to skip Cartethyia, as I haven't seen any witness to this combo yet. Besides, that's why you pulled Ciaccona in the first place, right? As for those who didn't pull Ciaccona, the best alternative of her goes to our Shorekeeper, as her double crit buff is still exceptionally strong that works on all types of damage. Compared to Ciaccona, the most noticeable difference is that it's not so brain dead to play, since you have to switch back and forth between the young and adult, otherwise you'll be losing a ton of damage. But even so, her damage output still takes a huge hit, since you lose almost all the DOT damage, which is actually pretty significant, but nevertheless is perfectly playable, much better than Zani without Phoebe. By the way, remember to switch Shorekeeper's cost 4 to Turtle, so she'll provide 10% damage bonus instead of 10% attack, and thanks to Rover in the team, you're not losing any energy regen at all. Verina on the other hand, is much weaker than Shorekeeper in terms of buffs, as she only provides 15% damage bonus without anything else. Maybe it's just my skill issue, but I'm actually having trouble getting full stars with this team, which I can't believe it even for myself. I can probably beat it if my echoes are better, but for average free-to-play Cartethyia, this is probably as far as she goes. By the way, I don't recommend Auto at all, simply because his Aero damage bonus is just 8% higher than Verina, which is not good enough to justify the loss of healing and quick auto recharge, so don't bring him unless you are completely out of options. On the other hand, since we are spamming basic attack with Cartethyia most of the time, it's a pretty good idea to bring Sanhua with her. But once again, maybe it's because of my skill problem, or maybe I didn't build Sanhua good enough, just short of beating this boss under 2 minutes. Anyway, I'll keep this footage playing for you to analyze, so maybe you can teach me where I got it wrong. Thank you in the advance. So finally, as my personal conclusion, for free-to-play who can only afford C0R0 Cartethyia without 5-star teammates, it feels like she's just an average DPS, definitely nowhere near game breaking at all. But once you add in her signature, and maybe even Ciaccona as well, then yes, she's one of the best DPS in the game, with almost no downside at all. That's my opinion about free-to-play Cartethyia so far. So what do you think of her? Please let me know if you have a different opinion. Thanks for watching and I'll be seeing you in the next one.